Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Construct Innovate webinar series on modern methods of construction, which we're hosting in association with Engineers Ireland. This is the 8th week of the webinar series. The focus this week is on design and planning, about quality control, assurance within the construction in there. As I said, this is the 8th week of the webinar series in there, so the 8th and final week. My name is Jamie Goggins, and I'm Director of Construct Innovate, which is Ireland's National Research Centre for Construction Technology and Innovation. So I'm going to hosting the webinar, and we've got three fantastic speakers again this week. We've got Natalia Maximova, who's Associate Partner and Design Director of Sheppard Robson, and she's going to talk about using performance specifications in construction projects. Then we have Dr. Mark Mulville, who's head of the School of Surveying and Construction, and is also a member of Construct Innovate, and he's at TU Dublin, and he is going to talk about AI-supported compliance in construction. And then we have Orla Gilroy, who's Project Manager of Skillnet MMC Accelerate program, and she's going to talk about that program and what it is doing to support the construction sector, and in particular around the modern methods of construction. So we're going to have the three presentations in there, about 15 minutes each. And after the presentations, then we'll move over to the Q&A session at the end of it. So if you have any questions for any of our three speakers during the presentations, then please do post it in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And as I said, we'll deal with all the questions at the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first speaker, Natalia Maximova, who's Associate Partner and Design Director of Sheppard Robson, and she's going to talk about using performance specifications in construction projects. So over to you, Natalia.
So as Jamie said, I'm from Sheppard Robson, and a UK-based practice. We're operating across 3 offices: London, Manchester, and Glasgow. Established 85 years ago. We work across the sectors and with a focus on quality in design, but also quality in delivery and construction. The 2 sectors where I use the key samples from our hotel and leisure and student living. The sector is probably more flexible for, or more suitable for methods of construction. We, as a practice, really keen to participate in industry discussions and keep connections with different organizations, such as Building the Site. And we contributed to their document, which soon will be published, sort of using performance specification in construction project guidance. And this V diagram is an extract from that paper. It sort of represents how the process of introducing modern methods for construction could be accommodated. There are quite a few factors that are necessary for it to happen on a project. And client commitment and client understanding of it is really important. And technical knowledge on client side, but also on the design team side. Cost, appreciation of cost, because modern methods of construction will come upfront as a more expensive option. Program and timeline, so where this decision is made and how much time you've got on a project, and also where in this process contractor starts to participate. I put together 3 case studies from our projects, and in the first one, the client, which is the operator, had the product developed already. So, how utilizing the project you will see in a minute. The second case study is where the client was a contractor from day one, so they had opportunity to make these decisions earlier on. And the third one is the same client, but where we had to work to enhance specification. So, Citizen Air, really interesting brand of the hotels. They have a very interesting formula. What do you consider as a good hotel room? It's the room, in their views, that provides a good night's sleep, excellent shower, and as a bonus, a great view out. And all this extra circulation and all the details are quite unnecessary. So they developed with their company in Bay Amsterdam, industrial designers and architects, this that uses just the narrow width of the container straight across, and it really with these settings. So, hotel. However, with all this product really well developed and established, only 30% of their buildings projects are still delivered in using these modern methods of construction. But in our case, in London, it was clearly a call for this type of construction. The site, located near the UNESCO World Heritage Site, near Tower Bridge and the Tower of London, had additional complexity of being over the existing Tower Hill station. So we had to arrange all the rooms above working underground station. So the modular construction, which is one room in each module, was a perfect solution for it. So it was built of the steel podium, and the overall structure, as a result, was about 200 tons lighter than the traditional method of construction would achieve. So the perfect answer solution for the site. And those containers, they would come all already fitted out, even the small stools stacked under the desk, ready. The installation was happening mostly during the night with some rare daytime shot. But for this to happen, we required specialist input. So we as an architect designed and coordinated this lightweight steel frame and all the M&E connections, but we did need a specialist prefabricated from engineers, as well as structural engineers from Rumble, and the module supplier, Volumetric, really helped us with the process as well. So it's sustainability-wise, it's a really excellent performance, BREEAM excellent it achieved, and it only for the whole construction to be completed on the side. However, the main challenge was to blend this style within, or to respect the existing historical setting. The fabric finish, factory finish of the facade was quite minimalist. So each unit was a glazed wall. Ours was a facade that would fit the historic setting. So we created a series of twins of stone and anodized aluminium, and some of this fitted and others were just gliding over the glass. And as a result, beautiful facade, and all being win architectural project. So the lessons learned from it, the required skill set is really important in a full product on the client side. Very interesting experience for us. The next is student residences. Again, similar to the repetition allows the use of modern method construction. So this particular was delivered through the design, finance, operation route, where the consortium made of financial organization, funder, contractor, and facility management company bids for the university plot to develop a large number of student bedrooms. In this case, from the outset, we had a quite interesting set of documents provided by the university themselves as their set of employers' requirements. And it's quite different in level of details it was. So they were looking for about 1,200 beds on the site, the East Campus, next to the original 60s Campus West. But the site was subject to outline planning and had quite strict restrictions on height and overall footprint. They would like to provide 3 types of accommodation in the standard. The specified bedrooms, interestingly enough, floor to ceiling height was very important for them. It was an aspect of ecology to be recognized, because by the time we were on site, the man-made lakes already established quite a strong ecosystem. Quality and robustness, of course, for other architects, we always look for high quality, but also its project will be run for 50 years. So the reduction in repairs is really important for the overall duration of the project. Program is always a challenge. It's always September date for every university to deliver a certain number of rooms for September. Very interesting Yorkness, and that was alluding to the qualities of the original 60s campus. and in their sleepers. The university wanted students to walk from their student halls, from their bedrooms to their social provision in their sleepers. In this case, however, our client wasn't the university, it was the contractor. And for them, the most challenging and risky factor amongst these requirements was program. So, but we still had to address the requirements. We, as a practice, with our interior design integrated in our architecture, developed the product, 3 types of bedrooms with differentiation in finishes, in furniture, in size. We upped the sizes that the university wanted to achieve. We created cluster of 6, 8, and 10 for each particular types, and as typical for this type of accommodation, we already concluded that the pods would be created off-site. However, even in this case, the performance of the product over 50 years was very important in choosing the particular construction methodology. Most of the pods are used GRP pods, but for our client, for the contractor, it was important that over the period of 50 years, the refurbishment of the pods could be done without stripping the entire wall. So the steel frame was selected as a method for pods. They were made in Poland and came with complete finish. Again, the fabrication of these pods resulted in really high quality product. But the main question was how we deliver the main bulk of the accommodation. So it was new to us, the system, which ultimately the contractor chose, cross-wall precast system by the selected precaster FEMA. So the system consists of slabs and cross walls that go between each bedroom, and the sandwich panels for the facade that consist of the structural layer, the outer decorative layer, and the encapsulated insulation. The finish again, all at the factory, with windows already installed at the factory, could vary from acid-etched concrete to concrete reliefs and the brick patterns. So we've used all 3 to really good effect on this project. The way the system works, it's a 2D system where the slabs are installed and the sandwich panel arrives, then the cross wall gets installed, the pods get craned over, which by different supplier, but with kind of connected to the whole system, and then the whole thing repeat again with the lid on top and the new panel, etc., etc. That's how it's all happening on site, and the speed of the construction was absolutely staggering. It surprised even the contractor how quickly the whole system was erected on site. And the quality of it, again, was to everyone's surprise. The fact that we knew the system from day one allowed us to embrace its limitations and specific qualities. The joints, the recesses was all considered in overall architectural composition, and the brick pattern we were sort of concerned initially, but it came out at such a good quality because it was made off-site. We even cast in the extract ventilation air bricks and some bird's nest bricks. So the statistics number of panels we used, it's really interesting. The stairs were also part of this precast package. But the speed of construction, again, that was quite a surprise for everyone. The first block took only 8 weeks to construct. What happened next is something that I never came across myself. We delivered some of the block ahead of the program. Another interesting thing about the system was that we managed to carry on always through the COVID because of the way it's installed with limited number of operatives on site. But when the university was struggling to get extra bedrooms, we delivered some blocks ahead of time and completed them. Some of them were completed, not occupied. And then the whole thing was just done in 2 years. Really interesting effect. What was really, what it also achieved to our advantage as a bidder, that we managed to create within the limited footprint additional volume of bedrooms. As I said, the original brief was for about 1,200 beds. Because of slim construction and low-tech approach to naturally ventilated buildings, we managed to add another 280 bedrooms overall within a very tight height restriction zone. while still achieving 2.5 meters internally with 25 mil to spare. The uniqueness, that quality of the original campus that university wanted to create, we certainly achieved that. However, introducing these details such as colonnades and recesses was only possible because we had this earlier with the supply chain, because it's not a standard application of their system. But what really made it quite special and full of character is the use of concrete reliefs, inspired by the original work by Fred Millett in the main campus. That's him and his helpers creating polystyrene mold. We created 3 different patterns that were repeated over the facades using Reckley technology. Again, the silicon tray created at the factory was used to make facades really interesting and characterful. In a project of this size, the introduction of modules definitely a good place, and it does have its grounds. Work in their sleepers, that was a brief by the university. So the original walkways of the 60s campus, we created a modern version of it. However, initial requirement from the client was use something off the shelf, products that probably better work in a standard setting. In our case, and I did a full study for the client, when applied in different level changes and different distances, it actually came out more expensive than a bespoke modular structure system. So with specialist Mika engineering subcontractor, we developed really beautiful solution for these walkways that added a finesse and character to the overall development. Well, performance specification. The windows that are opening inwards to create a natural ventilation required a grill in front of them for fall arrest. And that was another opportunity for us to design a beautiful pattern that worked with the rest of the architectural elements. And apart from loading, point loading and deflection, we also asked the university to check it for climbability, because when they were installed in the factory within the module, they said, well, what if students decide to climb? That's me trying to show that it's still climbable. So we had to change some of the elements to suit that. Concrete and precast elements have a bad reputation for embodied carbon. However, this project proved that it's actually not the case, especially when applied across life cycle of the project, with 49% of waste reduction and a significant drop in wet trade and fantastic quality overall. So the construction also allowed us to build quite close to the edge of the water, because it doesn't require this installation any front zones for the buildings for installation. It's all constructed from the back. And what really surprised us is air testing. It was coming up at a really high level. So without trying, we achieved a quite sustainable project with really high performance. What is also important that this method of construction achieved enhanced acoustics, good for students so they can't hear each other. So that's really great for the experience. Fire resistance, inherent fire resistance. Again, every parent is worried after Grenfell how their students are going to live in those buildings. And robustness and longevity, because all the inner faces, the walls, the soffits, the inner wall of the facade were all just ready to be painted over, because it was ready to finish. So just some performances figures where the loading, the anticipated loading was actually much higher than the resulting data. It's really great. And the internal quality, as I said, all concrete finishes just painted over, CGI versus built. But ultimately, it's a student experience that's really important, and they absolutely love it. That's their stickers when they first move in. My favorite of this one's quite a colorful reference to the project. So that, just some few images of the theme. And so, with this commercial approach to the project and repetition and use of MMC, we still managed to create a really attractive theme, and that's just all list of the awards we have been getting for the past 2 years. So that was really rewarding experience for everyone, and it's the favorite campus for students at University of York. So just to conclude, For the same client, we're now developing a new proposal at a different university. Just submitted planning a few days ago. It's going through validation. It's a part of the existing wider campus with existing buildings on site. So this to be demolished in phases and replaced with new accommodation that varies in height from 6 to 15 stories. And university's requirement is a particular number of bedrooms. It's actually higher than York. It's 3,600, and that's a cap. But their aspiration, unlike York, where aspiration for sustainability was low, and we achieved it just by default, here the aspiration for sustainability is much higher. So our response as a team was, we are going to deliver this scheme as a passive house and BREEAM excellent. And as it stands at the moment, it's going to be the largest passive house development in the world. Another aspect of the site is full of mature trees. Some of them are 100 years old. So we're retaining as many of them as possible. So our build forms are just woven into the landscape quite carefully. Again, the method of construction I've described suits that really well, because you can build very close to the tree zone. We've developed as before, with fully furnished elements. Facade-wise, again, that more brick and reconstituted stone this time to suit the location. But the contractor organizations themselves were concerned that developing this amount of accommodation all in cross-wall precast may be risky. So for some time, they were considering whether in situ should be used for half of the buildings, whilst the facade will be just made at the factory. So, but ultimately, it was the passive house requirements that allowed us as a team to make final choice. Air tightness in particular. So this was a case study by a passive house specialist where the building form was analyzed and requirements were set up. So triple glazed windows, MVHR introduction, thermal bridging analysis, that's all would be possible with in situ. However, this air tightness that is required for passive house would not be possible without the precision of precast cross wall. So ultimately, the decision was to go precast. This time it's PC and Techrit, PC being a designer, and Techrit delivering the facade. And some modifications to the system we used to are required, such as the air flow or MVHR above the window, which is a bit unusual detail. So we're working that through now. And eventually, it's going further. All the corridor walls as well as cross walls are going to be all in concrete. And here we are. So it's cross wall prefabrication again.
Thank you very much for that. Two very interesting case studies, and I suppose different in their own right in terms of the Citizen Inn hotels and the student accommodation, and interesting to see how you're taking it on the next level as well in terms of student accommodation and going for even higher performance in terms of the passive house performance. So if anyone has any questions for Natalia, please do post them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So without further ado, I'm going to move over to our next presenter. Next presenter is Dr. Mark Mulville, who's head of School of Surveying at TU Dublin, and is also part of Construct Innovate. So he's going to discuss AI supported compliance in construction. So over to you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to present today and to yourselves, to Construct Innovate Engineers Ireland. I'm presenting on a research project that we're carrying out, and in itself is supported by Construct Innovate with funding, and is also supported by FINA Engineering. So I just kind of have to recognise their contribution to this project. So our project is focused on compliance in construction using artificial intelligence, particularly machine learning and computer vision. So I have to kind of admit straight off, I am not an expert in machine learning, computer vision, or AI, or any of that. One of the advantages of being in a university setting is that I have somebody next door who is. So this project originated from the work of a PhD student who was exploring construction compliance. So getting away from design-based compliance, where we've automated quite a bit of that, and we have some very robust checks, to the what happens on site. Originally, MMC and prefabrication wasn't central to what we were looking at, but we've pivoted the project more towards that space as we've kind of worked through it, although we're still at early stages of it. Because we think that even with the approach that we have, which was originally focused on more traditional construction, offsite construction still has a space, MMC still has a space, particularly from a quality control aspect, and also from a basic compliance aspect. So myself and Dr. Susan McKeever are leading up this project. We've just appointed a research assistant who will start very soon on this. So we're still early doors on the project. Still a lot of things we're not entirely sure how it's going to work out, but the nature of a project like this is it's going to be a lot of challenges. There's going to be a lot of questions that we didn't think of, a lot of challenges we didn't think of that we're going to have to work through as we get there. It's the nature of this type of research where we're trying to produce a new application for construction by bringing two disciplines together and helping to digitize the industry, helping to maybe automate some of our processes that are there. As I said, the origins of it come from the work of a PhD student of mine, who was focused on-site compliance issues. One of the things he found very early in his work was that, as we all know, on-site there's a lot of visual inspection, a lot of manual processes, a lot of manual tracking, taking the photographs, emailing photographs, things like that. But there's error rates of up to 30% in that. So that's quite a significant amount of error. And that could be either items not being spotted that are actual or potential defects, or the opposite end of the spectrum, items that are not defects being identified as defect or issues that need to be addressed. And in that case, it could be, a phasing issue, could be a sequencing issue that is misinterpreted in that space. There's also challenges around the volume of inspection that can take place. It's a highly skilled resource, it's expensive and it's limited. And it's an area where, as the volume of construction has increased, it's become an increasing challenge for us to get that level of inspection into that construction phases as we need them. And BCAR, of course, helps, and quality control has improved and compliance has improved, but there are still challenges there and still issues there. What we then kind of turn to is three areas that we believe from the research that we can focus on to help improve. One is process and operational pieces, technical pieces, and behavioral pieces. And they all kind of interact with each other. And this is where my PhD student came up with this model, where actually these three elements interact with each other, that if the process is too challenging or not efficient or not usable, well, then the behavior might not be optimum or might not be what we want it to be. And likewise, if the technology is not there to support the user or the process, these things don't all work together. So these three elements need to work together. Just on the behavior piece, because sometimes when we talk to people about behavior on construction sites, it's taken as somebody's being bold and we're going to hit them over the head for not doing their job and things like that. It's not from that perspective. We don't find in the research that people are kind of deliberately doing things poorly or deliberately building in defects to the buildings, but it can be if the process behind it is suboptimal. And you're working on very, very large projects with a large amount of complexity to them. It can be very, very difficult to, ensure compliance and quality across the full spectrum that are there. And that's where technological solutions may help that. There's also an issue that does come through quite strongly in the research, that where inspection and oversight is limited, better than it was, absolutely. And some of the large contractors are doing excellent work on quality and compliance. But in some scenarios, there's limited levels of inspection because of a resource deficiency. And that does have an impact on behavior, because if you're not sure whether or not something's going to be reviewed, it maybe changes an attitude a little bit towards that. So they're the kind of issues that we encountered. We went off and surveyed the industry. Relatively small data set here. We would have preferred if it was a larger data set, and we do plan to go again with a larger data set, and maybe some of the participants today might be interested in taking part in that, where we try to identify what are the types of defects that are commonly occurring on construction sites in Ireland. There has been studies done in the UK and elsewhere that kind of do this at a large scale, and some in Ireland, but tend to be limited enough in scale. What we found when we went through that process was there's quite a range. Some of them are very significant, very serious issues, and some of them are more aesthetic issues, or relatively minor quality issues. But overall, the top three that were identified were fire protection measures, which is obviously a worry. Missing or damaged elements, so that could be something as simple as an architrave out of alignment, or it could be a fire bat missing. So there's a range, there's a spectrum in there that of importance and of risk within that piece as well. And then weathering itself, weathering particularly at roof junctions, for some reason we haven't quite bottomed out yet, seems to be an issue that was occurring again. Now, focus today, or focus in this webinar series on MMC, some of these problems will be solved. Absolutely. We will still have junctions on construction sites, and we still have in the offsite construction element, there's quality control aspects to be taken care of as well. So I think the project we're looking at, isn't a panacea for all of these problems. It's part of what we see as a range of solutions with MMC in there that will help us through it. So when we identified all these kind of challenges, all these kind of issues, and myself and Dr. McKeever had a conversation around, well, what is it in her field of specialism around machine learning, computer vision that we could possibly do? We looked at on-site camera technology, and there has been quite a bit of use of camera technology on site in recent years. Things like progress tracking, health and safety applications, security applications would be more common, and then operational aspects. Indeed, we just finished a DTAF project very recently with two other SMEs, where we were able to make some significant gains on an operational front of the construction site. So how do we go through our process more efficiently? How do we streamline that tracking of materials, for instance, or tracking of deliveries and things like that to the site? And that was quite successful, but in our case, didn't track or didn't focus on compliance. We also now have on the construction site, we capture a huge amount of data, but it's not always used. Quite often it's not actionable. It's not something that is readily usable. So what we try to do is combine those two things. Can we use on-site camera technology, be it mobile or fixed? Most likely in our case, it's going to have to be mobile. Fixed is quite limited in what it can do. To generate data that can be actioned around the compliance piece. What we're not trying to do in this project is have a solution that determines whether an element or a junction or a particular aspect of the building is or isn't in compliance. We're very strongly of the view that it has to be a human-in-the-loop solution to interpret what the machine is telling us is there, because construction is complex. There can be shadows on buildings. There can be scaffolds in the way. There can be sequencing issues. There can be, rework being taken place over a short period of time. So we believe we need a human-in-the-loop solution, but we also believe that with computer vision, machine learning, we can support that. So we can come up with a system, we believe, and I'll explain how we're going to do this now shortly, that can support an inspection regime where it can cover a larger range of elements than an inspector or building surveyor coming into the building could do in one visit, and prompt areas for further inspection. So not something that's going to determine something that's right or wrong or indifferent, but prompt something that looks as if it's different to what we expect it to be for further inspections. Maybe to focus the inspection a little bit more on what's going on. So within the project, as I said, supported by Construct Innovate and FINA Engineering Testing. So FINA are just set up in Ireland quite recently. They're investing heavily in here to try to grow their expertise or use their expertise to support the industry. They've quite a large presence in the US, but they're a company that were very kind to reach out to myself and to Dublin to support this project in Construct Innovate. So essentially what we're going to do in this project is build a database of imagery of good, bad, and indifferent. Some of that will be generated from construction sites. We've had real support from Fingal County Council, from South Dublin and Dunleary Down in providing imagery of inspections, anonymised obviously, of what's good, bad, and indifferent that we can then process. There is databases of stock images available that you can purchase access to or get access to. They tend to be hit and miss in that they tend to be, US focused, different construction methods, different compliance standards, things like that. We can also generate our own imagery using artificial intelligence. And again, I'm not the expert. Dr. McKeever is confident we can do this at a robust level. And then the fourth way we're going to generate imagery is to actually build a mock-up wall section, because I think it's important we have something to play with. So in the mock-up wall section, we haven't quite decided yet, but most likely wall section with a window opening in it, some pipe penetration, some services penetrations, some fire protection, some insulation, some air tightness measures, some weathering measures, that we can construct this, take photographs, adjust it, take more photographs, adjust it again, take more photographs, and keep on doing that until we build a model that has good images, bad images, and marginal images in terms of quality and compliance. We then have to go through a labeling process. So we have to essentially take every single image and say if it's good, bad, or indifferent, and why. And this is where the real challenge with this project, or one of the real challenges this project is going to be, in that, like anything else, rubbish in, rubbish out. If you get the labeling wrong, we'll get the answer that comes at the other end will be wrong. There is a project I was reading about recently where a team looking at machine learning to build a model that could tell the difference between, I have to get this right, a husky and a particular breed of wolf was built, and it had 98% accuracy, and everyone went, that's fantastic. But when the researchers went in and actually looked at what the machine was doing, what was happening was when photographs of wolves were presented, they had snow in the background. And when a photograph of a husky was presented, it was in a house somewhere. What the model was actually doing was identifying snow from houses. It had nothing to do with the animal that was in the picture. Now, in that context, it was okay. It used a shortcut to answer the question. That won't work in construction sites. So that's going to be a challenge with this particular project. But as we label these images and work them through, the plan is if we build enough of database with enough images through machine learning and the artificial intelligence applications, and I'm probably getting my terminology all wrong, and Dr. McKeever will be giving out to me, we'll be able to build a model that when we showed a new image, we'll be able to flag whether that looks correct, incorrect, or somewhere in between for further inspection. It's very much a proof of concept, and we're very early stages of this, so we don't expect in this project to have a working model that we can go out and commercialize and be approaching John Sisk and saying you should adopt this solution. We're trying to see if it'll work or won't work. And there's a number of hurdles within this and a number of challenges within it that are going to take us some time to figure out. Like I said, construction sites are complex things. There's a lot of movement going on in them. There's a lot of stuff that moves around from day to day. Weather can have an impact. Light can have an impact. The movement of people can have an impact. So at the moment, we're evaluating the camera technology that we're going to use. And the next stages then will be into that image generation piece. And we'll be reaching out to industry again to get as much of that imagery from actual construction sites as we possibly can. It's focused on buildings with high degrees of repetition, so MMC is relevant in that space. If we can get it right, the theory is if we can get it right on a small application, let's say windows, junctions with walls and fire bats, that we could then expand it over time and grow its applications to elsewhere. So it's focused on that piece around technology supporting the behavior and the process. And trying to address that 30% gap that we spoke about at the start, where we're missing the issue at hand, and trying to address that as best we can. So lots of challenges ahead, probably quite different in terms of some of the real examples that we got today from some really interesting projects. But we will be delighted to hear from you if you're interested in finding out more of the project or indeed engaging with us in the project. We need just as much support as we can from industry to make this work. And again, just to say thanks to Jamie and the Construct Innovate team for the opportunity to present, and I look forward to any questions you have. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. So if anyone's any questions or comments for Mark in relation to his presentation, then please do put them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and we'll come to those at the very end. So I'm going to hand over to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Orla Gilroy, who's project manager for the Skillnet MMC Accelerate program, and she's going to tell us all about that program and how it can support the construction sector, in particular the MMC sector. So over to you, Orla.
Thanks very much, and thank you for the welcome today from Construct Innovate. It's great to be here. I started with CETA in January, and I'm the project manager, as you said, on the Skillnet MMC Accelerate scheme program. So it's terrific to be here today. Skillnet Ireland have proactively worked with and continues to work with the construction sector to address skills needs, which many of you are aware. Indeed, it's their forward-thinking approach, which is incorporating MMC into their training, and this is where the Skillnet MMC Accelerate scheme comes in. So just to give you a little bit of context in the background, and I know that they were based on the EY reports, the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council also issued a report at the end of 2024, and they reconfirmed the shortages in construction. And it's been really interesting to hear the previous speakers talk about their own case studies and the research that they've done, because this will all tie into what they've talked about. This report also, very importantly, reconfirmed and reaffirmed the potential of MMC to alleviate a skills shortage and thus improving overall productivity in this sector. So just to give you a quick overview of some of the high-level Skillnet Ireland proactively courses and how they work with the workforce. They work closely with industry and with individuals, helping and targeting them on training programs. This helps the sector and individuals right across the sector to upskill and uptrain and within their own professional and across different aspects of their roles. This is, of course, through the dedicated Skillnet business networks of construction professionals, C2 Skillnet and Industry 4.0, and no doubt many people on the call will have availed of these, and if not, you really should. So the skills challenges in MMC, which indeed both speakers have definitely touched on, what are they? So no doubt many of you will be aware of nearly all of these. So given the shortage of skills, Skillnet Ireland undertook extensive research. They collaborated across all aspects of the sector, construction associations, leaders of industry, universities, government and research institutions. Through this, they identified the key skill challenges faced in MMC. And as you can see here, workforce shortage has been talked about previously, digital and tech gap again, which has been mentioned, off-site and modular skills, the multi-trade expertise across the sector, the limited MMC specific training and the leadership gap. Through their research, Skillnet Ireland specifically identified the opportunity to develop a strategic and innovative scheme to address the need for training and upskilling across the sector. And this is the Skillnet MMC Accelerate scheme. And this was launched last year. So what is it? It has two core strategic objectives. The scheme is an innovative business support that addresses and will continue to address specific skill shortages in MMC for individuals and companies alike. The two core strategic objectives are, the first one is to build and launch an online national digital platform with a focus on training and skills. And the second is a series of in-person, unique, nationwide business support events. And I'll give you an overview of both of those now. So the first one is to build and launch an online national digital platform. As I mentioned, this has a focus on skills and training. In particular, if you look at sections 3 and 4, career pathways and education upskilling. This is a multi-partner online platform that will promote and enable signposting and the uptake of MMC-related courses and training-specific courses. It will also highlight, showcase MMC in Ireland, share research and support information for the sector. So we'd be delighted, for example, to include the presentations and the research that's been shared here today. As I mentioned, section 3 and 4, the career pathways and upskilling and education. This is a tailored framework designed specifically to identify, for example, in your own cases as engineers, to search for and identify recognised certified national courses. So you may know that there may be a gap within your own skill set with regard to MMC, and through this pathway, you will be able to find and identify what those gaps are and then be signposted to specific nationally recognised and certified courses. And that will help support you and your own interests and needs or your company at large. The upskilling initiatives in MMC focus right across lean, green and sustainable manufacturing and digital. This aspect of the Skillnet MMC Accelerate will be launched in May, and we really would love you all to be involved. So if you have any industry showcases that you'd like case studies to share, please do get in touch. The second part of the strategic objectives is a series of unique in-person nationwide business support events. These started in 2024. They were held in factories and on-site across the country, promoting MMC adoption, careers, again, upskilling and training, and they provide access to industry leaders and government supports. These are absolutely invaluable. In 2025, we're holding a series of 8 of these unique in-person business support events across the country. In fact, last week we kicked off at Seven Mills, current site at Seven Mills, and definitely the opportunity to meet industry, other professionals, and to share business opportunities was very much created on the day. And again, we would really welcome you to attend these events. So how does the Skillnet MMC Accelerate benefit the industry? The previous speakers talked about a human loop, which I thought was brilliant, and that's what this will do. So this will unify and bring everybody together. I won't read this complete slide here, but it gives you the core aims and the principles of this project. So really, we want to advocate and showcase careers in MMC. The platform will create new opportunities for you to find and train and upskill across the courses that are certified across the country. We want to drive awareness and promotion in the MMC. There's incredible work being done across the sector, which you will already be aware of because you'll be included. And indeed, we've heard the speakers today. We want to be able to highlight what exists, and we want to be able to highlight and show and share what's coming down the pipeline. It's really important that everybody's aware that we're here to promote and not duplicate. We really want to endorse that good work that's already happening. We will be signposting through the framework on the platform to Qualifax and Fetch, and indeed other companies who've training courses may also be able to integrate this. We're future-proofing for the skills evolution. The previous speaker spoke about having technology on site. There's a very good chance that some of the jobs tomorrow may not even exist today. So it's very important that we collaborate, that everybody shares this core vision of transforming MMC across this sector in Ireland. So the overall vision is, and I've just touched on it there, is really to ultimately accelerate the adoption of modern methods of construction within the Irish construction industry. We want a unified, innovative and inclusive and talent ecosystem driving forward the sustainability, the growth, the productivity and digitalisation. Skillnet MMC Accelerate is collaborating across the sector, and we welcome your collaboration. Our core partner is, of course, Skillnet Ireland, with 4 other strategic partners, including Construct, Innovate, MMC Ireland, Mount Lucas and SOSA. Today's invite is a really good example of that, and we will be holding our launch with Mount Lucas in May. We're also actively working with industry experts who are listed on this as well on the last piece. These have been invaluable and have inputted invaluable contributions to us. We've been working with their L&D and their HR teams on the career pathway framework, and have also approached the professional bodies across the sector for input. So what are the benefits? And again, that human loop that was referred to is absolutely critical. The benefits for all stakeholders. The Skillnet MMC Accelerate scheme is an inclusive project for all. Every stakeholder within the construction will have access to the platform, and it is more than welcome to get involved. And in fact, we want people to be involved. We want to share your information, your research, your case studies, what you're working on. Through Skillnet MMC Accelerate, all stakeholders will be empowered, whether you're an individual, a professional starting out looking to upskill or change, or a business. You will be empowered to upskill and to train and improve your own efficiency, that of your company's sustainability, and very, very critically, deliver housing. So just a bit of a snapshot about the business support events that were held last year. In 2024, you can see we were definitely across the country there. They are unique opportunities for networking because they are on live sites and manufacturing facilities. Access to many of these, very often you may not otherwise have. So a snapshot about what's coming forward in 2025. We have our series of events across the country, which are nationwide, of course, and we welcome you to join. And then in May, we will have our platform launch with Mount Lucas. And this, again, just gives you an idea of the overall reach across the country. And we're headed to Galway in December to Jamie Goggins in NUI, and we're looking forward to seeing what they've created for us by the time we get there. So thank you very much. We really do. This is a collaborative project, and we would love to hear from you so that we can share your information and your knowledge with everybody. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Orla. And great to have a single source where there's the information is all held online, so people can easily access it. We started to pull together information a number of years ago on modern methods construction, and there's lots of information there, but to bring it all into one place took us quite a while. So I think that's a great initiative, and then obviously the in-person events in there to help the business support, and also the networking and sharing knowledge are also well appreciated. So that's the end of our 3 presentations.